Hey everyone, I'm Rob and welcome to the test drive. Today, I'm driving the 2018 Infiniti QX60. So the QX60 is the Infiniti version of the Nissan Pathfinder. So what we're going to talk about in this video is, number one, everything that you need to know about the QX60, and then secondly, is it worth the extra money to buy this over the Nissan Pathfinder? So we're going to start with the exterior of the 2018 Infiniti QX60. I really do like the look of this SUV. If you look at the front, it's very aggressive and it looks like an SUV version of the Q50. It's a very stylish SUV, really looks elegant, looks like a more expensive vehicle. I have to say, overall, the front is the best looking part of this SUV. I like the side profile a lot as well. You have some very nice rims that come standard. You can also upgrade to 20-inch rims. And I feel like Nissan, through the Nissan brand and the Infiniti brand, have really done a good job at designing wheels. I also really like the daytime running lights on the front of this QX60. Overall, this is an aggressive looking SUV, but still retains a lot of elegance and style, and really does look significantly better than the Nissan Pathfinder. Not that the Pathfinder is a bad looking SUV, I think it does look pretty good, but this just looks significantly more upscale. Now when you get to the interior of the QX60, you really have a luxurious setup in here, and it does look and feel very nice. However, there are a lot of components in here that are shared with a lot of Nissan vehicles. If you look at the center stack, the design, the layout, if you look at the infotainment system or the gauge cluster or a lot of the buttons, the gear lever, a lot of aspects of the interior look very similar or identical to Nissan vehicles, and not that they need to be completely distinct, but I feel like, or I at least wish there was a little bit more of a distinction in here, because most of the interior is identical to what you would see in the Pathfinder or potentially the Armada. Now that said, this is still a very nice interior. I absolutely love the look and the feel of these leather seats. They are so soft and they really do look nice. I love the contrast stitching, and you have this white trim around the outside of the seats as well. I mean, it just really looks very nice, and it looks more upscale. It looks like a premium interior, and all of the materials in the cabin, for the most part, are soft touch surfaces. You do have some hard plastic, but overall it is pretty luxurious. You also get heated seats standard for the driver and front passenger. Now the steering wheel is not my favorite. Infiniti does design some very nice steering wheels if you look at the Q50 and the Q60, but this one is just kind of hard. It really doesn't feel the nicest, and it doesn't look that great either. I mean, it's okay, and the rest of the interior, I guess, kind of makes up for it. Now you do have a lot of room in the interior of the QX60. The driver and front passenger have a lot of room. There's a lot of room in between the two front seats as well. Then getting to the second row, you also have a lot of room. I'm 6 feet tall. I was able to sit behind myself with no issues. But then the second row seats actually slide forward and backward. So that can really help out the third row, because you do have the two seats in the third row. and depending on who's sitting back there, you know, you may need to move that second row forward. And I did sit in the third row, and with the second row seats pushed back all the way, it was extremely cramped, very uncomfortable. But if you move the seats up a little bit, the second row seats, then you actually got a decent amount of room in the third row. So this is a vehicle where, depending on who's sitting in the second row, you could potentially have adults in even the third row. You have that versatility versus just having a third row that is only can accommodate children. I would have liked to see a dark headliner in the QX60, but you have this light headliner instead, which is fine. You do have a moonroof standard, so I do like that, although I would have loved to see like a panoramic moonroof or dual moonroof, something like that, something a little bit more upscale versus just the standard moonroof. But at the end of the day, it's nice that you get a moonroof standard in a vehicle. Now, getting to the performance of the QX60, there's only one engine that's available in this SUV, and that is a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6 engine, almost identical to the 3.5 liter V6 that's in the Pathfinder, except for the fact that it puts out a little bit more power in this Infiniti. So in this SUV, it puts out 295 horsepower, 270 pound-feet of torque, mated to a continuously variable transmission, just like it is in the Pathfinder. And that continuously variable transmission is essentially a gearless gearbox. The issue is that you get a lot of droning when you floor it. You get that drone, you know, going up hills. It's very weird because it does simulate shifts, but it's just somewhat unnatural feeling. Now, I will say, despite the CVT, this QX60 actually gets up fairly quickly. I mean, it feels powerful. It feels like it has enough power to do what you would want it to do, and it feels pretty good accelerating. And unless you're flooring it from a dead stop to, say, 60 plus miles an hour, you're really not going to notice the CVT that much. But it really drones, obviously, if you're, you know, flooring it and you're trying to accelerate as fast as you can from a dead stop to a very high speed. This is meant to be a family vehicle, to be taking kids to soccer practice and occasionally hauling a small piece of furniture or whatever. And this really can do the job and also give you a good driving experience. And the sound of the engine, despite the CVT, is pretty good. I mean, it's a naturally aspirated V6, and you do get that naturally aspirated V6 sound. And I like that. It seems like Nissan in this Infiniti vehicle didn't really try to muffle the sound of the V6. They just kind of let it be what it is. And I like that. I like that you do get that audible feedback when you step on it. Now, the QX60 comes in front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive versions. The one that I'm driving is the all-wheel drive version. But because the all-wheel drive system is front-wheel drive biased, you do get torque steer. And if it was rear-wheel drive biased, like some of the other Infiniti vehicles, like the Q50, the Q60, you wouldn't have that. But that's something where Nissan decided for this Infiniti vehicle, they weren't going to recreate the drivetrain, but rather they were just going to use the same drivetrain from the Nissan Pathfinder. You have several different driving modes in the QX60. You have Eco, Snow, Standard, and Sport. Now, what Sport does is it essentially makes the throttle a little bit more responsive. It sharpens the shift pattern as much as it can with a CVT. And then Eco and Snow kind of do the opposite. Eco makes the drive more economical, makes the throttle less responsive, and then Snow kind of makes it even less responsive, basically to keep the wheels from spinning in snowy conditions. Now, getting to the technology of the QX60, there are a ton of options that you can get in this SUV as additional packages with safety features and navigation and things like that. But right out of the box, at the base level, which is really where the one that I'm driving is, you don't get a ton of technology. You do get this infotainment system. You get a decent sized screen. It is a touch screen and you have a lot of buttons to interact with it, but it doesn't give you a ton of functionality. You do have a large backup camera, which is pretty nice. You can also get a top view camera in one of the upgraded packages, but I'm somewhat disappointed that you don't get navigation standard in this QX60. I mean, it would have been really nice to have that, and you would think in a luxury vehicle that you would just get that standard. But a lot of Infiniti vehicles don't come standard with navigation. But I still do like this infotainment system. I mean, it functions pretty well, and you do have a nice screen in between the tachometer and the speedometer. Now it's kind of interesting because it's angled backwards, so like when I first got in here, it was a little bit weird looking at it, but I like it. It's nice. It does give you a lot of functionality. And like I said, there are a lot of options that you can upgrade to in the QX60. You can get a ton of additional technology, a ton of safety features. Now, another thing that I really like is that there are USB ports randomly throughout the car. So you do have 2 USB ports in the front here in the center console, but then you have a USB port for the second row, and then the third row also has 2 USB ports, so one for each person who's sitting in that third row. So it's also potentially a nice way to make it up to the people who have to sit in that third row, the fact that each of them has their own USB port to charge whatever device they're using. You also get push button start and the proximity key to enter and exit the vehicle standard as well, so I do like that. So I hope you enjoyed this review of the 2018 Infiniti QX60. I'm Rob, this is the test drive. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know what you think about the video and this SUV and what this competes against, and please subscribe to my channel if you'd like. It does help me make more videos, and it makes you eligible for all the giveaways that we're doing, which we are always doing giveaways on the channel. See the description below for more information, and thank you again for taking this test drive with me. I'll talk to you soon.